in Nevis. So give us a call. Our numbers are 1-869-469-1616 and or 1700. Here's a suggestion. With regards to your participation in the show, we encourage you to call in on the numbers listed 1-869-469-1616 or 1700. You can get a pencil, piece of paper, write down a question or comment you may have, and take as little time as possible when you're getting on the show so that we can accommodate as many of you as we can. We ask only, first of all, you respect yourselves and then respect others, because we will not accept anything we deem that's not within our broadcast standards. But we encourage you to always be forceful with your point. Also, you can follow our live stream, video stream on our Facebook page at Vaughan Radio and our YouTube channel on Vaughan Radio. Click subscribe. Thank you all again. Your voice in the community, thought that get results. Tonight, Edric W. Stanley, good evening.
Good evening, Webbo. Good evening to my fellow panelists. Good evening to the people of St. Kitts, and more particularly the gracious people of Nevis. Those who will be listening to us on the World Wide Web through YouTube or Facebook, as the case might be. Graduating. Congratulations to all the graduates of Charlestown Secondary and the Sixth Form College. And I hope those of you who didn't do so well wouldn't be disenchanted. If you tried and tried, try again. One must attempt to always do their best. If you have done your best so far, you're still young, you've got plenty of time, so I would say to you, try and try and try again. And of course, those who did well, 90-something students graduated from Charlestown Secondary. I say again, congratulations to those who have done their best and to have gotten accolades to the extent where they have graduated with certain degree of completion, academic completion. But you have just started. The road ahead is not that easy, but with those of you who have reached the apex of Charlestown Secondary, you've got a tremendous opportunity ahead of you to do well with reference to academics, and not only academics. You go on to greener pastures because the world is wide open in front of you, having graduated from a high school, sixth form college, as the case might be. The world is ahead of you. Pick up your mantle, pick up your bundle, and go forward. Don't be fearful. Don't be fearful. There is quite a lot to achieve in terms of money, popularity, recognition, and the whole 9 yards. So be thankful that the Lord has given you the aptitude to have reached thus far, and as a result, you've got plenty of time ahead of you. Continue to pray to the Lord. He will guide your path. At the same time, you've got plenty of time ahead of you to do mammoth things with regard to helping humanity, regarding to making the world a better place for all of us to live. Many of us have reached to a certain stage in life, and we have accomplished. Many of us have accomplished. But you who are coming after us, the knowledge is out there. Search and ye shall find. Knock, and the door will be open unto you. So I am saying to you, continue to climb upward and onward the ladder of success, because there is a whole wide world open in front of you. And just don't look at Nevis and St. Kitts as places where you were born, as the case might be. But look at the wider field of nations, and opportunities are in those nations with reference to your academic achievement. Do not sell yourselves short, but are also you're obligated to make your contribution to the island or islands where you were born. Contribution is expected and respected. So climb the ladder of success. You are 18, 19 as the case might be, 17, 16 as the case might be, and you've got the whole wide world open in front of you. The sky is the limit. Reach for the stars, they say. You might wind up on the clouds, but at the same time, that is a great altitude to be on the clouds and not your feet on the ground. So I would implore you, I beseech you, I ask of you. Your teachers have made a sacrifice to get you to where you are currently. Don't stay there. The world awaits your contribution. Again, shoot for the stars. You might wind up on the cloud. However, that is a mammoth altitude, whether the stars or the clouds. Continue to go upward and onward and achieve your utmost based on your academic accomplishment. Congratulations again to all those who graduated from Charlestown Secondary and the Sixth Form College. You've got a mammoth opportunity ahead of you. Go for it. Webbo.
Conrad Nair-Liebert, good evening.
Good evening, Webbo, and good evening to your hard-working staff here at Fawn Radio. To my colleague, Mr. Stanley, pleasant good evening. And to everyone who is in tune to this wonderful and informative program by the various means that we do employ in today's world. Webbo, I'm happy to be here once again discussing these issues that affect the people. And I always say when I come to Von Radio that I come with an open mind, not just to dictate, but also to be inspired and to learn from the public in general and my colleagues around the table and the staff here at Von Radio. I would encourage everyone, not everyone, but people who feel like they have something to contribute to the program, to call in and to be a part of this conversation. There's a lot happening and there's a lot of talk about things to be. Let's get active, and of course probably we can influence the policies of the administration, the policies of the federal government as it relates to the development of our island. And so to me it doesn't make no sense to travel in the back seat. I think every opinion is relevant, every opinion can be counted, and I think even those in the very high places needs to be informed and guided by the opinion of the general public at times. And so that is what this program is about, for people to express their opinion. And I would want people to erase that fear that if there's talk they're going to bear a consequence. Let's just see the consequence is a result of your interest and your endeavors and your hope, actually, to make Nevis and the Federation a better place to be. And so there's no reason to be fearful. Call in and participate. And the many people who always stop me on the road to say this and that about the program, the opportunity is here. It's there every Tuesday. You can call in and express your opinion. Webbo, I want to thank you for inviting me once again, and I look forward to a healthy discussion this evening, Webbo. Thank you.
And now, I am going to, in just a second, ask, what we have on the table for tonight. But before we go into that, I just wanted to express from, here and on behalf of us and the heavyweight show, so to speak, our deepest sympathy to you and the family and the loss of your dad. And for the listeners, that's who we normally refer to sometimes when we're talking politics, and Ron Liebert. And when I heard about it, and every time something like this happens, we keep wondering, we lose another part of our history and did not or fail to have it recorded properly, and fail to pass something on. I don't know why we do it, whether it is we don't want that to be a part of it or not. But what I find is interesting that when we did mention to it, you mentioned it, and you remember a couple of weeks ago I replayed an interview that was done with the late Dr. Simeon Daniel, and I think his name was referenced. And people ask, really? He used to be? And what was significant about it was when Dr. Daniel did say that the current, when he was speaking at the time, the current men that he had did not work with him. But the earlier stalwarts, including Ron Liebert and Sonny Paris, and those fellas were the real stalwarts. But after that, I think, transition, when the Constitution and joined up and so on and so forth, those fellas left because they thought that, well, they had gone off course. And so that part of the history, and that was a part of the Nevis Reformation Party as well, would have been, would be very, very important to keep current, so to speak, because if people understand that, they could understand why these things were done, why they were formed, and perhaps learn from it. But anyway, as I said, Naya, I would like to convey our deepest sympathy to you and the family, and to thank the family for allowing him to make that contribution that all of us later on benefit from. And I also just want to quickly mention, because I notice Edric is itching to come and finish off the dissertation, right? The effort, a lot of people perhaps can know him by that and identify it. And Naya, maybe before Edric comes in, maybe you can just mention about the effort, because I think, as far as if my history serves me correctly, he was a boat builder, and he was the one who built that boat. Naya?
Yes, Webbo. I must say, during those early years, I was with my dad 24/7 doing so many interesting things here on the island. A lot of people would remember the boat, the MV Effort, because it was a boat that tends to fill that gap, and it was built to actually fulfill the needs of Nevisians by facilitating cargo from Tortola, St. Thomas, St. Croix, and sometimes Puerto Rico, and of course brought them back to Nevis. But Webbo, there was a boat before Effort, and the boat name was Lavinia. That was the very first boat my dad built, and it was a passenger boat. and it was a boat that operated between St. Kitts and Nevis. And all when the Christina sank, it was that boat that picked up the slack and was there for for a long time, providing that service between the island. I could remember seeing that boat even docking at the Newcastle pier. And so that was the first boat. And then he went on and built the MV Effort. I think the MV Effort was launched in 1974. And these boats, Webbo, was boats that, of course, they were metal boats. They were, I think my dad was the first builder of a metal boat within the Federation. And not just the Federation, the Leeward Islands. I think after we built Effort, there was two boats that was built in Montserrat, named the Rising Sun and the Rising Star. Lovely boats as well. But I think the MV Effort was a boat that was built with great skill. And of course, Webbo, it was a massive occasion when that boat was launched. I mean, you couldn't find space on Gallows Bay because everybody came to see the launching of this boat, and it was basically a Nivision endeavor. It was almost adapted, in a sense, by the NRP party, because it was, it was that kind of things happening in Nevis at the time, where the NRP was trying to was representing Nevisians, and of course Nevisians at the time was still suffering the same fate they suffer today, which is not being counted, felt like a second-class citizen. And after the demise of the sinking of the MV Christina, boats from Nevis became very, very important in terms of moving people across. Anyway, the MV Effort was built, and I think it was launched in 1974, and I think it was taken away by the hurricane of 1988. And so most people remember that boat because it served Nevis and Nevisians well for a number of years. It was a great boat, and I remember the very day it was launched. It scientifically and physically was a touch of class, Webbo. And my dad went on to build 5 boats, but I mean, Effort was just a very, very special boat. Not just because it served the need, but it was built with, it turned out to be, and sometimes I wonder if my dad really knew it would have been such a perfect floating machinery. And it was well loved throughout the region, well loved, well depended on in St. Thomas, St. Croix, Tortola, and Virgin Corridor, and those places. After that, my dad went on to build a boat called Horizon. That boat was a passenger boat again, ran between St. Kitts and Nevis for a while, and then it was sold off to someone, I suppose, in Tortola. And then we also went on and built another boat called the Native Sun. And that was a fishing boat. A good boat. It served its purpose, and then we also went on and built a catamaran called Follow Suit. That didn't last very long because in the midst of it, my dad got sick, and lots of things took place. But my dad made some serious contribution to the landscape of Nevis, I must admit, and I was happy to be a part of it to a great extent. And that is just in the area of boat building. In the area of politics, my dad contributed. He was part of the local council arrangement here for a long time. He was a founding member of the NRP party. And a lot of people don't know that the second party that was forming Nevis, the CCM, was highly influenced by people like my dad, because I think he realized that the island needs a second party to challenge the NRP after so many of the NRP, members of the NRP, felt that in 1983 the idea of secession was set aside and Dr. Daniel went down a wrong road. I personally don't feel that way, but that was the consensus, and so the party, NRP party, was divided. My dad with Mr. Theodore Hobson formed the PDP in 1985 and contested the election, and they failed miserably. And but that was basically the foundation for a second party in Nevis. And as you know, Mr. Hobson went on to be the chairman of the CCM when it was formed in early 90s. And so my dad contributed in a massive way to the political landscape of Nevis. To go on a little more, my dad was a superb mechanic, a diesel mechanic. Just to go back a bit, the engine that propelled all these boats, we were Perkins engine, which he bought in England. Many times it's from truck engine that we bought in England, brought them to Nevis, marinized them, put on marine gearbox, put on heat exchange and all these stuff, and put them in boats. And so it was an interesting upbringing for me, full of action, full of things happening, very interesting. And that's the type of guy my father was. He was very much an entrepreneur, very much a thinking person. Then my dad went on and established a business place called the Marinas Pub, and that was an exciting place for a number of years on the north side of the island in Cades Bay. And that was an exciting place, and his intention was to establish a marina, an idea which was a little above him as it relates to finance and other things, and he never made it in that endeavor to the extent to establish that marina, but he did establish a business space called the Marinas Pub, which many people will remember was one of the outstanding places. It actually was the first beach bar in the Federation, and so I'm very proud of him and his endeavors, and I'm very happy that I was very much close to him to realize what it is to really contribute in a direct way to this little island called Nevis. He's now gone. It's time for him to rest, and I would always tip my hat to him, really, because I see myself in him in various ways. I hope not to see myself in him in every way, but in various ways, and it was quite a positive influence on my life, really. So means he rests in peace, Webbo.
Well, I actually knew the effort when I lived in that other jurisdiction, and that boat came many times, and we looked forward for its coming simply because it was one of the ways to get things from St. Croix to Nevis direct. So in that regard, I knew the effort. I knew the captain at the time was the fellow Liebert from Government Road. Powers. And everybody in St. Croix from Nevis knew Powers. Everybody had something to send back to Nevis. Well, not everybody in the true sense of the word, but that boat would be laden with cargo coming out of St. Croix for the many Nevisians who lived on St. Croix at that time. So the effort has played its critical role with reference to the advancement of Nevis, primarily with the support of many Centomians, many Clusians, Nevisian Clusians, meaning those of us who were originally from Nevis, who resided in St. Croix, always again look out for the arrival of the effort especially during Christmas. The number of barrels that would be packed on effort to be discharged on Nevis Pier, that was, in fact, the helping hand that we gave while we were out there, that I gave, and many others contributed to the effort of the effort. All right. So basically, the contribution that effort made to the advancement of Nevis cannot be paralleled, cannot be quantified, cannot be measured in the true sense of the word, simply because the effort that was put out for the effort was mammoth. And I say congratulations to your father for having the foresight and wisdom and the knowledge to bring about the effort to produce the effort. And he did. And you have given us a history on the boat building thing, boat building aspect. For me, my old boss was a shipwright also, but he built the Rehoboth, which was a forerunner to the effort. However, I thought I would be at a certain level, because I too wanted to bring to the fore the building of a steelboat, simply because I do arc welding. But based on how your father did what he did, he had, I guess, some training with reference to physics, and he knew the displacement of the water based on the capacity or the measurement of the boat. He knew what he was doing. So, in that regard, kudos to your father. May he rest in eternal peace.
Thanks.
What else we got? I see you looking down on your paper.
Viv Richards is going to be on the $2 bill. That tells you.
From tomorrow, so you can buy up a lot of them and keep them as, you know.
Yeah, oh, listen, I don't know. Oh, there's something back of Webbo's head in terms of referencing my buying up a lot of the $2 bills. But at the same time, Viv Richards, who was the master blaster, has done every West Indian proud, simply because of the role he played in playing at the highest level of our game. During his time, we didn't have to worry about our opponent. All we had to figure out, how badly did we beat them? How badly did we beat them? Because of the contribution and participation of Viv Richards in the game of cricket. Well, we are looking for some accolades at that level for our El Camido Willett, who, because of him, caused Viv Richards to be part of the West Indies. We were the first from the Leeward Island to put somebody on the team of West Indies, which El Camilo Willett had fulfilled his obligation with regard to playing bowling at the highest level. on the West Indies team. So I am hoping that the Sugar Girls, who beginning to play football, I hope they would have arrived at that juncture where Viv Richards had arrived and further. Because we from this nation, this tiny nation of St. Kitts Nevis, we've got a heap of raw talent, a lot of raw talent. And once the talent is harnessed properly, we are destined to go places. The sky is the limit, as I have said in the past. But the Sugar Girls, Viv Richards, El Camilo Willett, they have made a mammoth contribution to the sports, but particularly in cricket. The Sugar Girls, of course, are in football. So I'm hoping that we will always remain focused to the extent where we understand what we have to do, how we have to do it in order to gain the recognition at that level, at the highest level of our sport. Cricket, football. Well, yeah.
Interesting. I'm unaware of that Vivi Richards is going to be on the $2 bill.
Yeah.
Are they going to introduce a new $2 bill?
It's supposed to come on stream, I think, maybe tomorrow.
Okay. That's not a bad thing. That's a good thing.
That's
a good thing. And as you say, when we speak of the Antiguans, we cannot do that unless we speak about El Comito Willett.
No.
They want to open the door for the Leeward Islanders to be in the West Indies team. It was a struggle from the small islands back then, and almost the smallest island in the Caribbean, break through in the ceiling, and we were so proud back then. It just fascinates me because back in those days, a lot of things was going on. It was an exciting time in Nevis. There was a lot of people in Nevis too, Nevisians. You go over the whole of the Bath Bridge full with people. You go down on the base at the end of Coracourt, it's filled with people. You go Market Shop, it's full. 5 Ton in Newcastle, there was a lot of Nevisians around. So many have gone away. But back in those days, El Comito Willett made us proud. And we were a people who were bind together by our circumstance, it looks like, because throughout all these years we suffering politically, from St. Kitts, we're suffering a lot. But the game that really give us that good feeling was the cricket, because they couldn't beat us in cricket. They beat us in all kind of things when it comes to the politics and cheating us bad, but they couldn't beat us in cricket. And when St. Kitts and Nevis is playing, then the whole park comes alive. It was interesting time, early 70s, mid 70s, interesting time. Yes, sports can get you there. Sports can open many doors for people and many doors for a region and a particular island. I always say it's not the politician that does it. It's the sportman, it's the artists, the musicians. These are the people who really popularize and make our little island, not just Nevis, but any island or any country, be known. And so we must respect our sports men and women. And of course, Antiguans and Antigans, I'm sure, are absolutely proud, because I think Vivian Richard, yes, he deserved it. And even though today we are struggling a little bit, we had a victory just over the weekend anyway against the English team playing in the West Indies at the time. They would be playing through the whole of December, and so I think it's appropriate. It's an appropriate time to once again emulate the stars of the past, and of course look forward to the stars of the future in the game of cricket. We play all different kind of sports, but I think we were always better at cricket than any sport, and I think that should be protected to the fullness, really, to the fullness. I'm not saying that we must not, diversify and be broad-minded and participate in other sports and so forth, but I think we should truly protect what we are good at, and create that environment to encourage for us to maintain that dominance. We have not, but we can get back there, and I know we will get back there, because I think cricket is in the blood of the Caribbean people, and so kudos to Vivian Richard, and once I say that, I would like to see more elevation of El Comido Willett and his legacy. Yes.
Well, we can't forget Livingston Sargent. His name was mentioned at a funeral that I attended just about a week ago. And as a result, Livingston Sargent,
yes,
was one of our best
make us proud
batsmen.
times.
And we not suffered from the disease of insularity, Livingston Sargent might have been right up there, or even beyond Viv Richards.
Yeah.
Because he always made a ton of runs, a lot of runs, and we must always remember the name Livingston Sargent.
Those guys have made us proud.
Yeah, although he did not reach the level because of insularity, he made his mark as a cricketer, as a division cricketer.
Mm. He's a Christina survivor to you.
Yeah, okay.
He was under Christina because a cousin of mine, I'm sure, Lord Cut, is Calypsonian in Sinkers, he was under Christina too. And he told me that he saw a lot of people surrounding this guy and trying to keep him afloat all the time when it was happening, after the boat had sank, trying to keep this guy afloat. A lot of people surrounding.
Let me get this. Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Good evening, Webbo. Good evening, Webbo.
Good evening.
Was there a cricketer, the name rings a bell, Grayson Imtiaz Derrick? Was he one of us?
Say that name again.
Grayson Imtiaz Derrick.
That name there, the only person who probably can give you information that would be Edric. Grayson, I know there was a Grayson Shillingford.
Yes.
There was a Derek
Parry,
and other things, but that combination I'm not aware.
Okay, thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Yes.
Yes, I was saying that Livingston Sargent, a local superstar, a regional superstar, and this guy told me, in the midst of it happening when the boat sank, he saw a lot of people surround this guy and just trying to keep him up. And only after all this had happened, he realized it was Livingston Sargent. People really tried to keep him afloat, and he did survive the disaster. Now, these are very deep history, very deep. It's happening at a time when a lot's been happening on island, very deep, and it makes me think that we need to, in some way, let the young generation know of the 60s and the 70s, what life was like here in Nevis, because
everybody says that.
Yes.
My question is, who's supposed to do it?
Well, we are supposed to do it, and we are supposed to do it.
So if we're supposed to do it,
yes,
why don't we do it instead of just keep saying we need to do it.
Well, that is exactly what I'm doing tonight. That is exactly, and sometimes you got to create the environment and the forum for us to do it, you know, and invite the people in to do it, you know, and because it's important, and we probably need to, you know, codify it, write it, you know, because as I see things happening today, and to me it's because such knowledge is lacking, especially on the political front. So much is lacking, and many don't want us to remember these things, you know. Many don't want us to be and the young generation to be knowledgeable about these things, but it's a part of this little island's history, you know, whereby I think we can, I mean, the history makes you proud. A tree without roots is you know, can't stand. You know, a people without knowledge of the past, it's a people that doesn't seem to know where they're going, really, and they are quite likely to make the same mistakes twice. Of course, our sister island have an archive, and it's all tied in with the whole tourism and historic aspect of St. Kitts. And I wish we can have something like that, and you know, forgive me if we do have it and I'm unaware, but the history of our island must be known, and we must create the environment, the forum, which we can speak about these things. It's not 200 years ago or 100 years ago, it's just recent history. But it is so profound, really, that I think, you know, not knowing this, you become probably less proud and Nivision, you know, than if you knew so many things that we are talking about today. Because the early 70s, it wasn't easy here on island, you know, with the Christina disaster and the political implication from our sister island. And when I say sister island, it's just the politician. The people are fine. The people are good people in every respect and aspect. You know, our El Camino Willet, I mean, quite an exciting time and quite a memorable time from my point of view, who was so young, but you know, was involved in it, you know, through the involvement of my parents. And so I just wish the knowledge that I have, many people, many more had this knowledge and would be willing to express it and communicate it, you know.
Well, like I've said, we have to record our history, however, whenever, but the longest journey begins with the first step. And as a result, we should put pen to paper and put it in such an understandable way that people would gravitate to that compilation of information, and as a result we would have a reference point, a point of reference, a period of reference for all of us to understand the rich history of Nevis, Nevisian culture. Well, of course, they have recorded during the Culturama Festival, and based on the recordings, we supposedly have an archives in Nevis with reference to the videotaping. I hope that those videos will tell the, well, of course, when it is captured in film, it's real.
Yes.
So we shouldn't really worry too much regarding some of the history that of course we didn't capture on film and in writing. But it is important, critically important, that we do record and we keep pen to paper as to what has happened or what is happening now and in the future. So we have plenty of work to do. Plenty of work to do.
Well, I suppose, we receive on a piece of paper what we should teach our kids in the academic field. Of course, we do the CXC and everything, and we follow a curriculum, I suppose. But it is up to us.
Let me get this. Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Good evening, Webbo. Good evening, Naya. Good evening, Mr. Stanley.
Good evening.
Your listening public. Naya, that description of your father there bring back memories, man. Your father was like a mentor to me. I remember having many conversations with him, and one of the things that I could attest to, when you said that he used truck engine, I could remember having a conversation with him about, the engines and all that. And he said, yeah, he just get truck engine out of England, and he put on what's called a marinization kit. So these are things that that stick in my mind. I was quite impressed with the way he built his boats and stuff. I wasn't around when the Lavinia was built. I could remember the Lavinia being in the surf at Gallows Bay, and but I was around when the effort was being built. Ron Liebert and one of our popular cricketers, Junior Pasha Hendrickson, I think he was.
Yeah.
He was a welder that worked with him. The other thing I remember is that the Native Son, I think, was built up in Government Road, where he had his mechanic shop, where Gene Liebert now operates in that yard.
Yeah, complete.
Yeah, and until today, I marvel. I want to know how Roy Liebert get that boat down Government Road. I remember him working there and my grandfather had a shop just down the road from
Yes.
face to face with your father's shop, Webbo, and where Dr. Liebert's office is now, right here. So a lot of times when we go to the shop there, when my siblings are down there playing, I up in Ron Liebert's shop. I remember him working on my father's car. He did some body works as well. Not only mechanics, but he did some dabbling body works as well. I remember my father having an accident on a Saturday afternoon going into town, and Ron Liebert was the man who repaired the car. So, I have some fond memories of your dad on Government Road and on Gallows Bay, and all those boats he built. A great influence on my life, the way it is today. Thank you.
And Carla, with that boat and those boats, people, some folks probably do not appreciate or understand the importance of them at the time, bringing the stuff out of the Virgin Islands.
Communication.
Yeah, and in terms of cargo.
Yeah.
And
Naya,
you know what happened when you look at it now? We seem to have regressed rather than progress in those areas.
I think the man Rowan Liebert, as it is underestimated and not given his flowers while he was alive. That is unfortunate. I was listening when Mr. Stanley was speaking with glee about Viv Richards being on the $2 bill. And I'm going like, well, what happened to our El Camino Willet? But he turned around and spoke about it after. I think the El Camino Willet as well is underestimated and underrated and not given his due for the magnitude of the contribution he has made. And we got to get serious about this. We got to get serious about this. They say a king has no honor in his own land, and that we should endeavor to change that. We should endeavor to change that. Even the political spheres we are here, some people feel if they're not in power, they have to deliberate. And I wonder if they realize when they do that, criticize and tear down, it's nevious and divisions they're acting against, and it serves them no purpose, no useful purpose. So when you're gonna criticize constructively and with a contribution. I think we need to kind of really do some more in that area. We need to come better in that area. So that's my contribution, Webbo.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Yes, just to go back once again, most of the boats my dad built was framed at the workshop in Government Road, and then dismantled and he took them, the pieces, down to Gallows Bay and reassembled them there. Native Son was the only boat that was completed on Government Road and then placed on wheels and pulled down to Gallows Bay and launch.
But Edric, you're not going to tell me you used to build boats too?
My boss.
Let me get this first. Good evening, thank you for holding.
Yeah, well, I had to call that because I was so caught up with the contribution of Mr. Liebert, Ron Zephaniah Liebert, that I forgot to offer my condolences to Naya and the rest of the family.
Well, thank you so much.
Eunice Liebert and the children. Some of them went to school with me, Oscar, Lavinia, I can't remember the older sister's name, but yeah, I want to offer my condolences. Naya, one more thing. You said the effort was until 1988. I wouldn't put my neck on a block, but I believe it was later. I I remember Powers tying it up and putting it out an anchor, and it wasn't Hugo. And I believe it's a hurricane after that. Further,
okay.
I remember being in St. Croix 1994. It was the last time I was in St. Croix, and I can't be certain, but it might be the effort. It's not the effort. It's probably in two that I sent home stuff on. Anyway, like I said, I wouldn't put my neck on the block for that.
I don't.
But I kind of want to feel that he was around for a little longer than 1988.
Certainly not 1995, though.
Pardon?
Certainly not 1995. No, it wasn't around in 1995.
94, it was when I was in St. Croix last.
No, not in 1994 either.
Okay, yeah.
I think it left in Hugo. That was the storm that took the effort somewhere.
Is Hugo that took the effort? Well, then it's 89.
Yes.
89,
Yeah.
Okay,
1989.
Yeah,
It was Hugo. Yeah.
Powers them securing it. It was too late to do anything else, and they put it out there, and it just disappeared. Never seen again.
Never seen again.
Yeah, a friend of mine was telling me he believes somebody stole it. Well, I don't think so. All right.
Caller, might I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
I asked Edric a question, and before he answers, he's going to answer when you hang up. But you seem to have known a bit about that era in terms of the boats being built, etc., correct?
Yes, man. I paid attention to that.
Right. Well, let me ask you this. Do you know at that time whether Edric used to build any boats?
Well, I never know.
I was a kid.
He's a fellow man, but I didn't know him before he left. I knew him after he came back.
Okay, so as far as your knowledge, personal knowledge is concerned, you don't know him as a boat builder?
No.
Okay.
But I know he would say he was. I actually told myself that before he said it. I'm true to form.
Okay.
Well,
Okay, caller, thank you. Yes, Edric.
Yeah. Good evening, Mr. Stanley.
good evening. If you're
Alright.
trained to build, you can build anything. And in that regard, the measurements, the tools, the materials, once they are available, you could build
You
anything.
figure it's time for a light moment.
Not really.
But you make Naya laugh.
No, he has to laugh simply because he feels happy. But I'm saying to you, if you're trained to build, you can build anything.
Okay, well, let me ask you directly. So you were a boat builder as well?
I've never built a boat.
Okay.
Never built a boat. But I have the skills to build a boat. Because if you, like I said, if you're trained to build, you will build anything.
Okay.
Well, let's bring in another topic.
Let me just get a break, and when we come back, we do that. This is Thought That Get Results with Edric W. Stanley, Conrad Naya Liber. Your phone calls on 1-869-469-1616 and 1700. We'll be back after this.
Builder's Paradise is offering a large variety of floor and wall tiles at very competitive prices. Builder's Paradise has over 2 million pieces in stock, lots of different styles to choose from. Whether you're renovating or tiling a new house, Builder's Paradise has what you need. Wow! Oh, and remember, we're open all day Saturday to serve you better. This is something that you can't refuse. Visit Builder's Paradise today at the C.A. Paul Southwell Industrial Site in St. Kitts or call them at 466-4938.
13,820 square feet of land is up for sale. It is located on the main road at Jones Estate, Nevis. For more information or for serious inquiries, call Stanley's Real Estate at 869-665-5634 or 869-469-3868.
With all the power from the tower, this is the powerhouse of the Eastern Caribbean, VON Radio, from the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis.
Christmas radio, Christmas radio, it's a radio, radio, radio Christmas.
This is the powerhouse of the Eastern Caribbean, VON Radio.
Back in this episode of Thought That Get Results with Conrad Naya Liber, Edric W. Stanley. Your phone calls on 1-869-469-1616 and or 1700. Edric.
Well, I am making an appeal to those who have received the $1,000 gift from the Prime Minister from the SIDF funds, CBI funds, and I'm saying those of you who have not received the first and second tranches, not including the 1,000 from the Prime Minister, you have to look forward to getting it simply because it's due to you. And therefore, people who have not received it can call in and we can get the information and get it through to Social Security that it is due and payable, because I got my first 2 tranches, 500, and ultimately the 1,000 from Dr. Drew. But they came from the same platform, the
CBI.
funds. So if you are a registered Social Security, if you're registered with Social Security, go to Social Security and demand your portion, the 2 tranches that were given by the Prime Minister or from the SIDF funds, because it is due to you.
You might also want to let them know before they demand it that they qualify based on the other criteria, though.
Well,
Because, work with me, you said if you're registered, go and demand it. So I just, by way of information, reminding you to let them know what the other criteria is.
the other criteria is if you are a Social Security contributor, that qualifies you to get the first, second, and there was a deadline that the Prime Minister put on the third.
Why don't we do this, Mr. Stanley, so that we don't convolute things? You suggest to them to go to the Social Security, and the officers there will guide them accordingly.
Quite so.
Okay.
Quite so.
Well, some people...
I just wanted to mention here, Naya, before you go on to the point. For the folks who are listening, you can please help us. Somebody found a ring, and they brought it here. Now, it looks like a very important ring. It has an inscription in it. It may well be a name, and it has some carat gold inscribed in it as well. So that's part of the reason why I say it's very important. One of my staff suggests to me, what type of ring it can well be. However, the point is that if you lost the ring, give us a ring here, call us, and if it's yours, you will be able to describe it, and it's over to you. Things like those are very dear to people, and you lose them, you'll really like to get them back. Some folks, when they lose things like that, say will offer X amount, just to get it back because of the sentiments, etc. So if you lost the ring, a good citizen found it, we have it here in safekeeping for you. And those of you who are listening, I almost want to say it can be, well, let me not say it, but the name suggests that it can be, let's just say, just ask your friends if they lost the ring. Naya, go ahead.
No, I wanted to ask Mr. Stanley, is there a situation where people, Bolivians, are not going to claim this money from the Social Security?
It is based on lack of knowledge, because my older son here has received at least the 2 first tranches. He's not he has not attained the age of 62 or 65, as the case might be, and if he has received his, I have received mine.
Is there a requirement that you have to be up to date with your payments?
Well, I don't know about that, but once you've been making contribution to Social Security.
See, I don't want to misinform persons, right?
Yes.
That is
So
correct.
again, I'm going to interject and say,
Yes.
I think it is enough if persons haven't gotten it to go to the Social Security and let those persons who have the actual facts, right? Because we don't want to
mislead
in trying to help.
Hello.
Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Yeah. Good evening. My name is Joseph. Now, I live here in Morningstar for 70 years, right? Now, I have seen cars coming across here day and night. People walking on my property here, which is in my yard. My porch is right here next to my bedroom. And they, when I tell them do not walk in my yard, they throw a stone up on my porch. And I call the police, I call Paul, I call Jefferson. And they're going to tell me the court says not mine. At 70 years since I live here, my father, Edric Stanley knows this. It's 70 years since my father bought this land and I haven't sold any. And none of us sold any land here. So I need some kind of justice here. If I live here and they're going to throw stone right tonight here. Stone's been thrown up on my porch. Right?
Okay.
And this is not right. This is Nevis.
Right. Okay, so you want some...
Thank you very much.
Oh, I got you. Have a good evening. Yes. So the Social Security thing, as I said, I don't want to, because Naya asked a good question. I know that there are certain, especially with the last segment, the $1,000, there were some specific requirements, right? So I prefer to direct persons to the proper authority that is in, and then they will let them know, and if they qualify, they get it, right? But to go and tell people that they must do this and demand, and they don't have the thing, and then say that Von Radio tell them, we don't want to do that.
Well,
let me get this.
Yes.
Good evening. Thank you for holding. Good evening. You're on the air. Good evening. You're on the air. Okay. Callers, you want to listen to your phone once you call and it's been answered. You want to listen to your phone. Don't listen to the internet or your device that you're listening to, because in some instances, especially on the online, there's a slight delay. Okay.
The Saudi Arabians apportion some 40 million, which, in my view, is a drop in the bucket from such a rich country to us here in St. Kitts and Nevis for geothermal, as the case might be. So what I'm trying to imply is that we actually go back and let them know we work with our list and we get concessionary loans, not in terms of begging all the way, but concessionary loans. But rather than taking drips and drabs, we go and make a big request to take care of many things: education, roads, public utilities, and see what response we'll get from them.
Now, you don't feel that if this were the period of time when Edric runs, he'll win? Good evening, thank you for... caller, please call back. Naya, Edric ran in about 25 years ago, I think, right? So you don't think if he runs now with a party or something, you don't think he will win?
He will do better, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he will win.
But with those sort of ideas and stuff like that, sounds to me those sound like winners.
Yes, but Mr. Stanley, beggars are not choosers to start with, right? You know that. But also, no, I'm not knocking your approach. But who said that all this wasn't done before? in terms of presenting a list, and this is what happened as a result.
Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Well, this is a lighter moment. My sister is away on holiday, and she's listening to the program. She called me to remind me of Dingy Liebert, the brother of Ron Liebert, came around to all the households and all that to collect old vested frames and stuff like that. That's how resourceful Ron Liebert was. He went and collected wherever he could get metal. I suppose the resources was cased out those times, and old vested frame and all that is what he used to do the frame of the boat, the first boat, Lavinia. Yeah, so my sister just called to remind me of that. I very well remember when he came around collecting.
Interesting. Yeah, okay.
Yep.
All right. Thank you. Good evening. Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Good evening. As Mr. Stanley mentioned, Saudi Arabia and 40 million. Is it his understanding that that money is going towards geothermal? Because the announcement that was made sounded very vague, and it sounded that it was going to Skellig, to do something. I don't know if that includes things like transmission lines and so on, but is it his understanding that it was going towards geothermal directly?
Skellig is part of the communique. At the same time, we should impress on them, that we should get a little more.
Yeah, but you heard the question the caller asked you, though?
Quite so.
But so that's how you chose to answer.
Exactly.
Okay.
So it's not a done deal that is going directly to geothermal.
No.
That's what you're saying.
No.
Okay. All right. I wanted you can I introduce something else, well, related in a way.
Yes.
The Prime Minister, in the news item, I noticed that the Prime Minister seems to be making overtures to Anguilla in terms of cooperation, and Nevis's geothermal seems to be in the mix. Okay, and it sounded very on the well, shall we say, that it sounded very ambitious, that what was going on here, because he made mention of it in the context of what had happened with Anguilla when we had St. Kitts Nevis Anguilla, and the bad blood that went, and is indicating that it's now time for basically renewal and cooperation. Obviously it can't be like before, but at least there would be cooperation, and he did mention St. Kitts Nevis and Anguilla. And I wondered, how does that fit in with what Nevis would like to see developed? Because is it going to be that the federal government is going to be exporting this resource, or is it that Nevis is going to be doing it? If there is a cooperative, if it's an agreement between the Prime Minister and the Premier, well, we do know that they're cooperating on this thing, but I'm wondering if there is details somewhere, or an agreement somewhere, that specifically spells out what exactly the terms of references and so on are, so that if it does turn out to be successful, there's no no back and forth and bad blood and quarrels over ownership, those kinds of things. that can torpedo the whole thing, right? So I just wondered if you guys were privy to any formal declaration or agreement on what exactly is supposed to happen with geothermal. We can't. We like to kick cans down the road, and then we come back to bite us. So I'm wondering if there's something concrete. And what do you think about this whole St. Kitts Nevis Anguilla rapprochement, so to speak?
Call, I'm listening to you I'm listening to you, and I'm thinking, if I'm not mistaken, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I'm thinking that question that you're asking can well be directed to and answered by a caller who a few weeks ago called in and had an engagement with me and suggested to me that were geothermal to succeed or to be developed, the resource will belong to St. Kitts and Nevis.
To St. Kitts and Nevis?
Right.
Okay.
Correct. And so I'm thinking that if it were not you anyway, I'm thinking that whoever that caller was perhaps will be in a good position to answer the question or the concern that you have.
I don't think that was me.
You don't think it was you?
I said, I recall saying that if it was developed in Nevis.
Well, what you say, Edric wants to talk. Edric wants to talk to you. What you say, Edric?
He referenced the ownership. Or questioned.
So it was him?
Quite so.
Okay.
I did not say that it belonged to St. Kitts and Nevis.
No, you were asking.
Nevis's resource.
You were asking.
There.
You were asking.
Okay, well, why don't we're not going to argue on it. It was just something that, crossed my mind, and if you said it wasn't you, well, I will put it this way. That question that you have is very interesting, and I wish I could get that caller to call back in, because as I listened to you, I said, that caller who seemingly had that knowledge at that time perhaps can address it. But it wasn't you. I got you.
Okay.
Yes.
Right.
All right.
But you don't know. You all don't know if there's a formal agreement or anything like that.
You mean with Anguilla?
No. Between St. Kitts and Nevis.
Between St. Kitts and Nevis?
The Premier and the Prime Minister on the details, the nitty-gritty of that resource.
No, but I don't know. I don't know. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
It's an interesting concern the caller have, as far as I check, because yes, I know there is serious cooperation as we expect it to be, but the nitty-gritty, and I'm sure there's serious nitty-gritties in that mix. I'm unaware of it, and it is something that I will be expecting to hear more about, the real nitty-gritty of it, because I read the newspaper and there is obvious serious cooperation between the islands, the local administration and the federal administration. I can't jump the gun and start thinking.
Good evening, thank you for holding.
Good evening, Webbo.
Yes.
As Sammy Davis Jr. say, right? So people think that's part of God. That caller is quite comfortable in saying that the CDI trustee is a federal, is a national resource. It's already been declared that the geothermal, the way it's going right now, is a national resource. Why is he uncomfortable with it? Why is he not comfortable with that? Why is he asking all these questions? I mean, what is his issue? I mean, I will be satisfied the same way the CDI is a national resource. They give us what is for us. The geothermal is a national resource. They get what's for them. What are they nervous about? Webbo.
Yes, I'm listening. Yeah.
You're laughing. I think there are reasons to be.
Yeah. Liar, what do you think about that?
No, I think there are reasons to be not nervous, but really concerned, because as the caller say, we like to kick can down the road, and it comes back to haunt us. It is a very, very, very serious concern that the nitty-gritty of the arrangement, because there is serious cooperation, as I have said, and so we expect that there would be the nitty-gritty arrangements, which would be, of course, made public.
Yeah, well, now I would be surprised. I would be surprised if the resource isn't needed, and we declare it a national resource, and at the end of the day, the federal government would think that they could take control of it and give us what they feel like they're doing with the CDI. You know, I think what is good for the goose is good for the gander. Anyway, I'll leave that to the diplomat.
Okay. Right, thank you.
Well, I wouldn't really want to engage the caller again, but he insinuated at the time that the geothermal, maybe in the form of a question, who owns it at the time? I leave it there. So,
Mr. Stanley, what we're talking about is something very serious.
well, let me just say, Webbo, ask your question, and let me remind Webbo that I was offered a seat in the House of Assembly.
Oh.
And as a result, I rejected it based on the fact that I have to remain focused with my task at hand in the private sector. Had I accepted the call from the then President of the House of the Assembly,
Mm-hmm.
I might have been viewed differently and became successful running on the CCM ticket. But at the same time, I'm not one to accept free lunches. I want to earn my keep, and therefore I participated.
Well, I think Webbo asked that question because of your approach, whether diplomatic or otherwise.
No, I understand it.
When
clearly.
you make mention that we should have this list and ask them for more.
Well, Webbo felt these are pertinent and poignant issues to bring to the fore, and as a result, I might become electable. But
yeah, maybe Webbo saw qualities he never really saw back then when you run, and he's probably insinuating that with such qualities today you may
I had more firepower, man.
You had more firepower back
then. Yeah.
So what are you implying? You had more firepower then and you lost. So what are you suggesting?
I'm saying to you, for clarity, I was offered the position in the House of Assembly. Had I taken it simply because I was looking at the route forward in terms of electability. But I chose not to accept the call simply because I wanted to be focused on what I'm doing.
You keep saying that you were offered this and you turned it down, right?
Quite so.
Did someone offer you?
Yes.
Okay. And the person who offered you knows that they offered you?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know who the person is or was?
The then Speaker, Madam Speaker of the Assembly.
Who was who? Which was who? You don't remember?
No, I do remember.
Okay, so it was who?
MM. You figure those abbreviations.
Okay, so it's okay for me to ask her?
Yes.
Okay. All right, continue. I'm going to ask her.
Well, I believe I finished with my dissertation. I
Right,
was just
so
trying to bring it into the fore.
Right.
Simply because once you're part of that apparatus, in terms of whether a senator or nominated member, as the case might be, or you're already in the mix, and it becomes, in my view, easier for you to be elected because people recognize your contribution within that realm.
But you're speaking to what I said earlier, suggested earlier, that's what you're speaking to?
The question you asked, Naya.
That's what you're speaking
Yes.
to? The fact that I asked Naya the question in a suggestive way that were you to run now, you likely will win?
Which is, Naya gave you the right answer.
Which was what?
No.
And you agree with Naya?
I agree with his answer.
So if you were to run now, you likely won't win?
No.
Why not?
Factors. My age.
What's that got to do with it?
Plenty.
Mm-hmm.
People, they're looking for nice-looking young people.
Okay.
Mark.
They're not looking for brilliant ideas such as what you put on the table.
That is part of the. But at the same time,
they're looking for brilliant ideas such
Right.
as what you come with,
Yes.
and they're looking for people who are practical and can produce.
Mhm.
And as a consequence of you being able to have brilliant ideas, can produce, etc., on those bases you will not win.
No.
Okay, so people don't really want that.
They want it.
But they don't want it. But they don't know they want it.
Not really. I wouldn't put it that way.
How would you put it?
I would say they want more. You got to be nice looking, young, bright, plenty of ideas.
And you don't fall nowhere in those qualities. You don't have those qualities. You're not work with me. You're not good looking. Huh?
You stunned me the Webbo.
You don't know. You're not bright.
I believe I'm bright.
You're not. What else he said, Naya? You have to be good looking. You have to have great ideas. You don't have great ideas.
Yes.
So why
you got to be you got to be realistic, Webbo.
Okay.
You look around and you see all the people who are within the realm.
Okay, so the point is, you're saying that you don't think you'll win.
Right.
Okay. That's where you and I disagree. I think you'll win. So let's agree to disagree.
Okay.
Mr. Stanley, I suppose Webbo is amazed by your approach. And he have seen a quality probably he have not seen before. Because you have that command, and even though you're basically begging, you have that command in you. Whereas I see it as problematic, others might see it as quite a good quality. To succeed in such endeavors, like if you go to Saudi Arabia, you would get money for what you want. And so what they are offering probably has nothing to do with what's going to happen, because you will get money for what you want. That's the way you sound to me.
Well, let me put it this way. I am not in a position to go to Saudi Arabia. I'm just making a suggestion to those who have gone and probably would return at a later date, and to begin to compile their list. So in that regard, based on the fact that they got plenty of money and they are now trying to extend their tentacles globally, it is very likely that we could get more.
Edric, by way of information, you know who I am in terms of, when people challenge me. You challenged me to ask M.
Mm-hmm.
I did. The answer is no.
Well, let's not carry this discussion any further.
Well, that's why. I agree with you.
Simply because
work with me. We wouldn't carry it any further. You asked me to do it. I do it. We brought it back. So let's leave it there. I agree with you.
Quite so.
Okay. Now, did you attend the town hall meeting last night?
Well, I was supposed to have attended it, but
you didn't remember?
No, I remembered.
Okay.
I remember the meeting, but I felt it was the airport meeting.
The airport, yes.
Right.
The airport. What you got some ideas and some views on that?
Not really, but at the same time, I kind of understood the parameters, the necessary things, because the airport has to be expanded, and it's going to, the dynamics associated with the expansion would require fill, and so I was in a conversation with a fellow, and he said, well, we don't have enough fill for the Anguilla airport, and therefore he is reserving the fill for the Navy's airport. I wanted to attend simply to hear all the dynamics with reference to the fill for the airport, Navy's airport. And he said that we may not have enough fill to even sell to Anguilla. And I told him, take a drive and look at all the mountains, Nevis Peak and the other small knolls associated with Nevis Peak. But you can't see them from one location. But if you drive around, you will see them. And we cannot even begin to quantify the amount in terms of cubic yards in the supporting hills around the highest peak. And I believe we've got enough fill not only to support the Nevis expansion, the Aguila expansion, but also other regional airports. However, he didn't take me up on it, but he gave me the information, and I wanted to become part of what I wasn't able to attend simply because the timing. Timing.
I myself wasn't unable to attend, but I called some folks who attended, and I still have not gotten much out of them. One or two people said that there was a problem with one of the main speaker because his first language is not English, and so he was not well understood, what he was saying, because I think his original language is Spanish. But however, I view it as an introduction to the public of what is to be, or what the government would like to be doing. And so to me it's really early days to really draw any conclusion really from what has been said. We here in Ireland wait to see the whole thing unfolds, because first you'd have to get some lands to expand. They have to be able to what's the proper word? I wouldn't say take away lands from private owners, but they have to have that aspect of it quite settled, I suppose. And I'm not sure if they have intention of pushing down the hill at the beginning of the airport. But one would think any major expansion of the airport going further towards
westward.
Well, westward, you would have to remove the hill. And even if you're not going westward and you're only going eastward towards Nisbet Plantation, that hill is still a problem. That hill is still a problem because you got to line up to the airport. You got to line up to
that is not difficult.
What, you mean to push it on the hill?
Neither.
Okay.
You put six D9s on that hill with 6 scrapers, and in 10 days I could tear that hill down.
Oh yes, I believe that.
Alright?
I believe that.
Now, get the hill out of the way. Gives you more space. More space.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But from the time you making your approach to landing, you line up with what's there. You line up your aircraft. So by the time you're ready for touchdown, you're already on the center line of the runway, of the runway.
And you're talking even if the hill is not leveled.
Right.
Okay. Well, you're a pilot.
Yeah. So based on
to
that,
a certain extent.
Yeah. Based on that, the hill is not a problem. The takeoff and landing space requires a certain amount of feet. So with that, only certain aircraft with certain capabilities can land at the Navy's airport currently. But like I said, that hill could be taken down within 10 days.
Yeah, I believe that's quite possible.
You just have to have the right equipment and the right approach.
I did not make it physically to the consultation, right? But I listened last night, and one person who attended made a contribution which I found was interesting. I have it here queued up, so I want to play it, and then we can, on the flip side of it, we can continue.
Clark, and I came to this meeting tonight because where I come from, on a small island off the coast of Massachusetts, they've done very similar things, and they increased their runway to 5,500 feet. And basically, I grew up in airports. I used to fly for United Airlines as a flight attendant, and I flew for 26 years. And I have to say, I came here looking for something else. What I would have liked to have had would be a copy of those slides so that I could follow along with you folks, because a lot of the questions that I have were answered on some of those slides that, by the way, we couldn't read very well. And I have to say, this was painful, and you need somebody who is going to be able to present your vision, because I'm with you. I mean, I've seen this happen on our small airport, and the amount of traffic that it's brought in and the amount of tourists that it has brought in, because we too have a tourist community. And I was really excited to come here tonight because I did want to, I wrote out a bunch of questions, and the slides would have answered it. And if you had handed out the slides in the beginning, then we could have gone through and asked, pertinent questions. But from the presentation, I did not get that. I did not get the answers that I was looking for. But I am so excited that this Nevis Airport is going to be utilized, because just like the airport where I lived, it was underutilized until we had a group of people like this that came in and revolutionized our life, revolutionized our airport. So thank you for that, and I want to know more. But thank you.
Well, the person who was on our recitation just now didn't get what she actually went for. I don't know what she was looking for, but at the same time, the lengthening of the runway is critically important. The widening of the runway is critically important. And like I've said in the past, you go to a large airport and you would find that you got landing and takeoff.
Edric, let me just take this. I'll come back to you. Thank you for holding. Could you go ahead?
Yes, that hill, Hurricane Hill, I think it's called.
Yes.
It's not directly in the path of the runway, but it's very close. And I would imagine that if it's going to be, if they're looking at safety, that hill would have to come down at least to a certain level for jets to land properly, especially at night. But I thought the fill from that hill might be better utilized starting the causeway to build a bridge to St. Kitts. It might be interesting because, well, I mean, it depends on the design of the bridge, but I would imagine that some of the hills in the southeast peninsula in St. Kitts could be bulldozed, use a scraper, as you said, and start a causeway at that end, and Hurricane Hill start the causeway from the other end, and then in the middle you have a smaller bridge, so you have low maintenance and so on. But I don't know if it's a competing project as such. you know, but definitely if that hill might have to eventually come down. Okay.
Okay, thank you. You know, maybe what I might suggest is that the next consultation they're having, they carry it live right here, so that people who cannot attend can use our audience and people informed, because based on my information, the hill is not going to be disturbed this time around, so that people will understand what they are proposing at this given time. You understand what I'm saying? What they're doing at this time does not, based on my understanding, does not include and involve taking down that hill at this time. So that I think it's important for the general public to understand the scope of works and the adjustments that they're doing at this time on this project.
Well, like the gentleman mentioned, last caller, I have looked at that hill for the reclamation of land from the water on our side. And like I said, in 10 days I could, from an engineering standpoint, civil engineering standpoint, that hill could be leveled.
So you can get it done in 10 days. And you're not saying that you leveled one already, just like with the boat. You can build a boat, but you never build one.
Quite so.
So you can level that hill, or a hill like that, but you never did one.
No.
Okay, I got it. I just, checking.
But the equipment that is earmarked or envisioned to be utilized will be able to get the job done within a very, very quick time.
Now, I'll tell you this before you cannot hear or appreciate it. If I were to live my life over again and do a talk show like this again, I'll have you as my super heavyweight again.
Thank you, Webbo.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I'm very happy that the discussions are ongoing, and the project has been introduced to the public. We look forward to further consultation, obviously, and so the people can be better informed. Of course, even with this particular project, there's a lot of nitty-gritty that the public should know about and expect. They have that expectation that they would know about arrangements as it relates to the project, as it relates to the lessee and the true owners of the property and its running. But I'm very happy. I'm looking forward because I think it is very crucial that an airport of some quality be on the island of Nevis. And so, kudos to the administration for actually being on that path.
Naya, let me take this. Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Good evening, Webbo. For those who think that the hill is not in the way, right? This is why I went to the discussion last night. I saw a diagram with a red line going through that suggests the hill is in the way. They said this, you're correct, they said this time around they're not going to do it because they're not going to go back far enough. The further back they go, the lower the line of trajectory becomes. So, in essence, what they're saying is that they're not going to go back far enough for the hill to be a problem. But in the future, if they're going to extend even further into the sea, the hill will have to be moved. But for this round, they're not going to move it.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is that if they need to do something, they better do it now, because it is very likely that the price of acquiring the space that hill now takes up, occupies, it might be less costly now and get it done now. I do not know what the design of the airport is. They might configure it differently with reference to the hill, with reference to the ocean, and with reference to the direction in which landing and takeoff will proceed. Now, I understood only one fellow who they have not been able to settle with. And the fellow asked me several months ago what the valuation of a piece that he's got there above the airport. Oh, well, I just spoke a little too much. Anyway, I gave him a figure, and that figure apparently is still in the works, still in the machinery, waiting for the decision. Webbo.
I understand that at the consultation there was some folks pressing for a starting date of the project. To me, that seems to be quite introducing the project to the public, doing a public consultation. For one to ask for a starting date is really taking it a bit too fast, too far, too quick. Don't you think so?
Well,
because you're just introducing the project to the public, and consultation will be taking place going forward. I mean, asking for a starting date.
Yeah, but Maya, to be fair, is just an ask. For instance, right? If I were to say to you that what we will do here is I'm thinking about playing back some of the sessions that we did 25 years ago, etc., etc. So I'm wondering what you guys think about it, in terms of, it's just something I'm thinking about, and we probably, and then you say, well, when would you start? Well, my answer to you then would be, well, I don't have a starting date yet. We will want to start as soon as we can, but I was waiting to hear what you think, and Edric thinks, and Ted thinks, hello Ted, etc., etc. So my thing is that you give a person an opportunity to ask a question, and they ask a question, so you give them the fitting answer. So if, just like you're saying, if they ask and they feel we're doing some consultations and then we'll have to do that with so and so, we don't know exactly how long it will take, but we would like to get it done in such a time.
Well, anyway, whether you said something there, I've never built a boat, I've never done anything like that, but I spent quite some time at Hess, where excavation and hill movement, and I'm a sponge, simply because I saw the equipment used and the effectiveness of the equipment, and therefore I gave you the information, or through the mic of on radio, that I can get that hill cut, hewn down, leveled within 10 days with 6 D9s and 6 scrapers.
Well, Stanley, maybe you should give the administration a call.
That's the last word. This program repeats at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning following the VON News Minute. Join the Honorable Mark Brantley at 8 o'clock tomorrow evening for On The Mark. Thank you all again for joining us. This is your voice in the community. Talk that get results. You all have a wonderful evening.